Growing up, in my very early days, my grandmother once sent me to go and draw water. Maybe I should mention here that growing up in the village, we did not have the luxury of drinking water which was bottled or tapped water. We actually drank water from what is known as a chiste. When the rains have poured, when it has rained cats and dogs, our grandparents and our parents would go to the streams and they would dig a small well known as a chiste. And therein was our source of water. But the tragedy was that every morning when you go to draw water from this chiste, you would find frogs in the water. So this particular day, when my grandmother asked me to go and draw water, it was to go and draw water from that particular chiste. I reached up the chiste and I found that there were frogs in the water. I went back home without drawing the water. My grandmother asked me, "Why didn't you draw the water?" And I said I was scared because there were frogs in the water. Then she smiled and said, "Are you going to allow yourself to die of thirst because there are frogs in the water?" And I was like, "But how can I draw the water with frogs inside it?" She said, "Just forget about the frogs. Go and draw the water." In Tonga, this is what she said. "Imeyo ajula talehi utega menda." In English, this means that the eyes of the frogs should not stop you from drawing the water. It is from then that I learned daring the environment, going for what you want and achieving it, because the eyes of the frogs should never, ever stop anyone from drawing the water. My grandfather's name is Morgan, my name is Oli, and today we are looking at precisely a very interesting topic. In my latter days in university, I stumbled upon a book by John C. Maxwell, which was talking about the irrefutable laws of leadership. And there are a few things that I learned there that I would want you to learn as well. Perhaps you can buy a leaf and use those lessons and transform your life just like I transformed mine. I read that book with an eye of understanding and wanting to improve my leadership skills. Because I should hasten to mention that while in university, I was a leader of a faith-based organization. Apart from that, I was a leader of my own self. I like to say I was an organization by my own self. I used to write books, attend class, conduct seminars and conferences, and all these things I was leading myself, managing my time with my school, managing my time with writing books, managing time with conducting seminars and conferences. And because of the things that I learned from this particular book, I was able not only to succeed at writing all the books that I wrote while as a student, but I managed to graduate successfully, and the story will be told later. Now, one of the things that John C. Maxwell talks about in his book, the number one law that he outlines in the 21 laws, the irrefutable laws of leadership, is that there is what he called the law of the lead. Now, when I read that, well, to me at first it didn't make any sense, because I was like, everyone knows how to lead, really, when you look at it. That was how I was thinking. To say, you don't need to learn leadership. And looking at the law of the lead, I was like, what does that even mean? But as I started to explore deeper, one of the things that I learned under the law of the lead is that the organization can only go as far as the leadership abilities and capabilities of the individuals in the organization. Because when you look at it, being effective is not enough by itself. Organizations are organized around different individuals. An organization could be doing something very important, very big, and very transforming, but that could be limited by the individual's either ability or inability to lead. It's like a lid closing the top of a container. The water cannot come out as long as that lid is fastened tight. So it's like holding potential. You can only succeed as much as you build the capacity to contain the success. Don't just be effective, be efficient, be dependable. And one of the things that I learned about leadership is you have to be predictable. Do not live under the impression that when you are predictable, then you are boring. In fact, in leadership, only those leaders that are predictable are trustworthy and trusted. Because leadership is so big a role to give it to someone who we don't know what they're going to do next. The law of the lead. You could be the lead to your own success as a person. Expand yourself. Be efficient as you are effective. Be dependable as you are predictable. And you'll be amazed at how much success you'll be able to amass for yourself. Leadership can frustrate effectiveness because leadership determines everything. If the leadership of an organization is not good, even the employees or the people that are part of that organization, in as much as they may be effective themselves, if the leadership is not as good as it should be, it will frustrate their effectiveness. And I know some of you watching me right now, you can almost relate and point out those organizations where you say, I had all these ideas and I could do these things. In fact, some of you, when you started working, you used to perform to the top notch of your ability. But leadership perhaps frustrated you and you just started being, you decided to be a John Q. Public. You decided to be average because the leadership frustrated you. And for you who are leaders in organizations, you may want to look at this. Perhaps the reason why your employees are not effective is because you are frustrating them by your inability to lead the way you should lead. It's like you've put a lid on top of your organization. Your employees cannot flourish. You are frustrating their effectiveness. So that's number one, the law of the lead. When I read that, my life has never become the same. It has changed in ways that I would have never thought possible. And the second law that I learned from that book is the law of influence. When I was pursuing my public speaking course in Toastmasters, I took a course called Persuasive Influence. And this course opened to me doors that I would have never entered any other way except from the knowledge that I gathered from that course. And one of the things that I learned from that course is we will follow the people that influence them. In fact, the law of peer pressure thrives on influence. We only do things that those that influence us to do. Pause and think about that. The law of influence. To be a leader, a person who has not only, you do not only have to be in front, but there has to be a following behind you. In as much as you are leading from the front, you are leading by example, there should be those following the example. Otherwise, you are not leading, you're just having a walk, as other scholars have said. So the law of influence states that as a leader, you must be so much consistent that you begin to influence other people to do what you're doing. Haven't you noticed that even the people that do bad things, they have a following? Because they are so consistent in doing the bad that they're doing that they have amassed influence and they have a following. They are leaders. Even comedians, people that just make people laugh. I mean, that's what you think, that they just make people laugh. But they're influencers. Musicians, some of them who sing songs that insult. You think they're just musicians, but they're influencers. They're influencing because they have been consistent in what they are doing, in their insults, in their bad doing, or in their good doing to those that are doing good. If you are not influencing anyone, then you are not leading. And the best person to start influencing is yourself. Have you ever influenced yourself to do something? Or have you ever influenced yourself not to do something? For example, you know there's a habit that you should stop doing. Have you influenced yourself to stop the habit and start another one? Another good one. To stop a bad one and start another good one. Have you ever influenced yourself? Have you ever influenced yourself to wake up and do the jogging that you've been wanting to do? Have you influenced yourself to go to the gym that you've been wanting to go to? Have you? If you can start from there, you will be creating a big source of influence from within yourself. Because once you can influence yourself, there's guarantee that you can influence those that are around you. And before you know it, you'll be influencing people, even those that merely have just heard about you. Influence. You see, to just lead is more than the title, is more than I am the MD. It is more than I am the manager. It is more than I am the one. It has to do with influencing people to take a certain course of action. What I'm doing right now is influencing. I may not influence everyone, but there might be that one person. It could be you, like particularly you, who will say, you know what, I need to be serious with my leadership. Because of what I have said, and because you've been watching, you have subscribed to this talk show, one or two people's lives will be changed. And for me, that would be enough, because that life which has changed, it will also change many other lives. And I would have been content that my influence led to this particular person changing these other lives through also their influence. We are all leaders. The fact that you are following someone at that particular time doesn't mean you're not a leader. The fact that you are an employee and there's a manager in your company doesn't mean the manager is the leader himself alone. You are a leader as well. Discover your leadership and begin to influence. And the third thing that I learned in that book is the law of process. A colleague of mine at work actually, we like to laugh about how that sometimes, young people want positions, but many of them have never gone through the process of learning to become those things that they want. Yes, I said it. Yes, I said it. Just because we are advocating for young people to be in the positions of leadership and influence doesn't mean we should put anyone there as long as they're a young person. No. The process matters. And process has really little to do with time, that it has to do with knowledge, understanding, and wisdom. And when I say that, I mean the things that you've learned. It doesn't matter your age, but if you've learned things, you've practiced some things, you've gone through certain teachings, you have the process. You have the experience from that particular process. Many young people just want what they want without being ready for those particular things. You see, leadership develops daily and not in a day. You don't suddenly become. You start from somewhere. So it develops daily but not in a day. Today you've listened to this. You may not become a leader now. But if you keep listening and keep applying, keep listening, keep applying, keep listening, keep applying, keep discovering new things, before you know it, you'll have become a leader. So it develops daily, but not in a day. That is a process. The secret of our success is found in our daily agenda. What do you do on a daily basis? When you wake up, what do you do? Those things that you do daily, they form the pillar of your success. In fact, your daily activities are a canvas to either your failure or your success. So mind what you are painting on that canvas. If you want to be effective, if you want to be good at things that matter, start practicing good daily. No matter how little it is, you don't even have to start big. In fact, in my later conversation, I'll talk about something called the small big picture. Most of us just want to become, but we don't become just like that. We start from somewhere. So those daily activities, your daily agenda, forms what ultimately becomes of you. As long as the person doesn't know what he doesn't know or what she doesn't know, then they don't grow. As long as you don't know what you don't know, then you don't grow. It's very paradoxical. If you do not know what you do not know, then you don't grow. Because you only grow by what you know and then practice. The first step is to know. Like I am telling you right now, that there's a process to becoming anything. Now you know. If you're going to begin to practice daily activities that are going to be in line with what you want to be, then you will grow. Yes, you will grow. To be conscious that you are ignorant of the facts is a great step to knowledge. One point I heard of a story of a man in Greece who was crowned as the wisest man. And for them to determine who was going to be crowned as the wisest man in Greece, they asked all the men they perceived to be wise one question. And the question was, what do you know? What do you know? And many people gave many different answers. And the man who gave the answer and received the crown as the wisest man in Greece, here's what he said when he was asked to say, what do you know? He said, the only thing that I know is that I know nothing. The only thing that I know is that I know nothing. And because of that response, he was crowned as the wisest man. Why? Because when you think that you know, you will not want to learn more. Because you think that you know. And there's no telling to the abundance of knowledge, even on the things that you already know. You'd never be content that I know everything. There's always something to know about what you even already know. So to be ignorant or to be conscious that you are ignorant of the facts is a great step to knowledge. Because when you know that you don't know, then you will seek to know. And when you seek to know, you are building the basic of your knowledge and understanding. And before you know it, you'll be wise. When you recognize your lack of skill and begin the daily discipline, you are growing yourself to become a great leader. Most of us are stagnant because we think we know. But I challenge you, forget about what you think you know and learn more. Pretend you don't know anything. Pretend you're a tabula rasa. And that knowledge is found from the consciousness that we do not know everything and we need to stay humble and learn much more. My grandfather's name is Monga.